Professor Ranade, we have lots of questions coming in, but we'll try to take like as much as possible in the given time. So we'll start with the first one, which is related to the journal. So
Okay.
we'll start with like, is there any specific thirst area for ACS Engineering Gold in the first year?
We have not really firmed up on any special issue for the first year, but you would say decarbonization is the one theme which we are toying with for developing a special issue.
Okay.
But no specific thrust area, I would say.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Ranade. Moving on to the next question related to the journal. So the audience would like to know about the processing time for ACS Engineering Gold articles, like the review time or processing time, a lump sum time that you would like to like share about, if it is like
Yeah,
possible.
that's fine. No, so that's what I was going to comment on. So unlike more established journals where we have lots of data, the number which I am quoting here will be quite biased, and so typically we have now first few accepted articles. I would say probably 10 articles we already have accepted, but most of these 10 articles were really invited. Right, so we had handpicked the authors to and invited the manuscript. So typical processing time for these were quite short. I would say 4 weeks for the final decision on an average. But I mean, we do not have enough data to say that 4 weeks will be kind of an average time for everyone.
Yeah, exactly. So in the beginning, it's very difficult to talk about the processing time, and especially at ACS journals, we are not very much open to this thing because the authors themselves experience this fact that what is our processing time rather than we speaking about it. So moving on to the questions related to the technical talk, we'll start with the first question. So Professor Ranade, can we convert lignin to biogas? If yes, what pre-treatment is required for the same?
No, unfortunately, we cannot convert lignin to biogas. So lignin will come out of the digester in digested.
Okay.
If we break the lignin, it will form inhibitors. Microbes will not be able to survive there. So any pre-treatment which you are doing should be not so much drastic that it also breaks down lignin and creates those inhibitors.
Exactly. Then we have a question around what is the present status of microwave assisted pyrolysis in national and international level?
Well, I mean, pyrolysis is a completely different ball game, but in fact, microwave is also used to pre-treat waste biomass for anaerobic digestion. So I do not have enough information on microwave assisted pyrolysis, but microwave assisted pretreatment of waste biomass there are several papers available on that. Our analysis indicated that microwave assisted pretreatment is significantly more expensive than hydrodynamic cavitation.
Then we have a question around hydrodynamic cavitation. Can you please explain the detailed mechanism of device designed by you to handle biomass in hydrodynamic cavitation?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you have seen the picture, it's essentially a vortex. Vortex is created by tangential entry. So you have a device where liquid is pumped in via tangential entry. A strong swirling flow is set up. That strong swirling flow essentially creates lower pressure. So there are no small constrictions used. This swirling flow, the tangential flow, is used for generating low pressure and cavitation. That's the key difference between our device and any other device. So we have, in fact, many papers published on design. So I will, in fact, take up very difficult to explain otherwise beyond this tangential entry and swirling flow.
Exactly. So in line with the same question, like how this cavitation is different from ultrasound processing cavitation. Likewise, does this hydroxyl radicals are similar to cold plasma radicals?
Right. So typically the ultrasonic cation generates the pressure fluctuations by the means of electric supply, right? You have the power supply which will generate, you have a diaphragm at the ultrasonication probe which oscillates at high frequency and generates pressure fluctuation. That generates the cavitation. In hydrodynamic cavitation, turbulent pressure fluctuations generate hydrodynamic cavitation. So the kind of frequencies which we are talking about in ultrasonic typically are 20 kilohertz and above, whereas in hydrodynamic cavitation, those frequencies are much less, kind of less than 5,000 hertz. Right? So that is the main difference between ultrasonic cavitation and hydrodynamic cavitation. However, it is possible to do transformation, whatever transformation which you can achieve in ultrasonic cavitation. If you design your hydrodynamic cavitation in appropriate way, should be able to achieve that also in hydrodynamic cavitation device.
Yeah.
So hydroxyl radical generation rates will be different in ultrasonic and hydrodynamic cavitation because of these changes in pressure fluctuation frequencies. But overall performance of hydrodynamic cavitation devices is significantly more energy efficient than ultrasonic cavitation.
Yeah.
Now, hydroxyl radicals are generated in variety of different ways, like cold plasma, photocatalysis, and say ultrasonication. Right. So, I mean, once you generate hydroxyl radicals, they will behave in a similar fashion. The energy required to generate that and variety of other mechanisms for all these different methods are different. But once you generate hydroxyl radicals, their reactivity and their behavior is all similar.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ranade. Then we have a question. What are the other established methods of pre-treatment other than cavitation that can be also feasible industrially?
Right. So I had, in fact, listed some of those pre-treatment methods in one of the slides. And I also mentioned, right, like microwave is one of the pre-treatment method. There are other chemical pre-treatment method or enzymatic pre-treatment method.
Mm-hmm.
The crux or a key point in the question is industrial feasibility, right?
Yeah.
I would say that at the moment, hydrodynamic cavitation, I have seen few installation, like I have showed you some installation on spent wash distilleries. We have done some large scale installations for a rotor stator cavitation unit. There are few commercial installations of AD in Europe, in UK and Europe. I haven't yet seen a commercial installation of any other pre-treatment than say for cavitation, for anaerobic digestion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Moving on to the next question, Professor Ranade. So what are the maximum velocities which are achieved using VODCA for generation of cavitation? And what were the integrity issues faced and tackled for the larger scale devices?
So the pressure of the typical operating pressure drop across this vortex-based cavitation devices is 3 bar. Right? So from the operational perspective or a mechanical design and mechanical integrity perspective, it's absolutely no issue. 3 bar, we can routinely design these devices. Velocities, so operating velocities at the throat, for example, in these devices is of the order of 3 to 4 meters per second. So I'm not talking about the velocity in the inlet pipe. I'm talking about the velocity at the throat. So which is of the order of say 3 meters per second. Right? So that is, I don't know whether that answers the question fully, but that's the number I can give.
Yeah. Then of course we are coming to the end of the session, but again we have lots of questions, and if you allow Professor Ranade, then we may take 2 or 3 more questions. Are you comfortable
sure.
with that?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So anaerobic digestion is specifically known to produce lot of sludge. How to tackle that issue?
Right. So that's what we are working on right now. So of course, anaerobic digestion generates less sludge than aerobic digestion, significantly less sludge than aerobic digestion, but nevertheless, it generates sludge. And it is important to get valuable compounds out of that sludge. And so we are, in fact, exploring photocatalysis and other devices so that we can further valorize that sludge. So that's the biorefinery concept which we are working on at the moment. So you have anaerobic digestion, and we want to use every aspect of every material coming out of that digestion as much as possible. And therefore, we are right now looking at variety of ways of sludge valorization. I won't claim that we are ready to commercialize for the pre-treatment and others. As I said, our work is now ready for commercialization. For sludge valorization, we are still struggling to achieve the economic feasibility.
Yeah. So, Professor Nanade, I'll take the last question for you. So,
Sure.
what is your suggestion for applying hydrodynamic cavitation for pre-treatment of lignocellulosic biomass, say for example 2 gram ethanol? Typically, acid and alkali methods were used in the pre-treatment of these biomass. Do you think the cavitation method as an intensified method would reduce the cost of 2 gram ethanol? So this is the like a detailed question.
Yeah, so it's a 2G ethanol, second generation ethanol is talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically for second generation ethanol, you need to recover cellulose and sugars, basically C6 sugars, not C5 sugars, but C6 sugars, and that is why you need to fractionate your lignocellulosic biomass into like cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, and then convert cellulose to sugars, which you can use it for 2G ethanol. Right? The whole idea of using this anaerobic digestion is to avoid this fractionation. So one of the ways, one of the thought process of our Indo-UK project is, instead of doing this fractionation by chemical methods like acid or alkali method, you use hydrodynamic cavitation and feed that biomass to anaerobic digestion. And even anaerobic digestion itself, you can use it as a pre-treatment. So in anaerobic digestion, you use anaerobic digestion to preferentially convert hemicellulose to biogas. Lignin will stay in solid phase and get the cellulose out, which you can then use the acid hydrolysis or enzymatic hydrolysis to convert that to sugar. So you avoid excessive fractionation cost by the combination of this hydrodynamic cavitation and anaerobic digestion. But I think it is still, idea is not yet completely validated in practice. Yeah. That still needs to be done. Work needs to be done on that.
Thank you, Professor Ranade, for again this wonderful talk and taking up the questions so patiently. And again, we have lots of questions, and for the unanswered questions, we are very sorry for the attendees. They may contact via email to Professor Ranade, right. And that would be a good mode of communication also. And once again, to the attendees, we are very much thankful for their wonderful participation. We'll be sending out the certificates via email, and we hope that you enjoyed this session. And Professor Ranade, thank you so much for taking your time and joining us with this on this ACS Science Talk platform. And we hope that when you visit India, we'll be able to meet you in person and have more scientific discussions. So thank you so much. And
thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.